Every empire falls in silence. Only the dust remembers what was once secret. Young Samson, powerfully built Israelite man in his 20s, long dark dreadlocked hair, walking confidently through ancient vineyards near Timnah. Samson stops mid-path, head slightly turned, listening. The vineyard behind him, tension in his frame, he hears something. A rustle in the undergrowth, dappled afternoon light through vine leaves, ominous stillness before an attack. A massive young lion leaping from dense scrubland directly at Samson in an ancient vineyard, Samson turning to face it, eyes fearless, arms beginning to raise, raw primal collision of man and beast. Samson wrestling a massive lion with bare hands, both hands gripping the lion's jaw, forcing it apart with supernatural strength. He looks at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. Samson walked away from the dead lion without looking back. Raucous ancient Philistine wedding feast in a large stone hall, torchlit, long tables of food and wine. 30 Philistine groomsmen in fine robes. Samson standing at the head. Samson leaning forward across a feast table toward a group of Philistine men, challenging grin, about to pose his riddle. Men listening with wary expressions. The moment Samson realizes the riddle has been answered, his face shifts from stunned disbelief to cold fury at the feast table. Philistine men looking satisfied, hundreds of foxes running with torches tied to their tails, flames spreading rapidly across the landscape. Samson's silhouette watching from a hill above. 3,000 Israelite men surrounding a single figure, Samson, in a dry valley. Samson is standing calmly with his hands already extended to be bound. Samson's hands being bound with new rope by Israelite men. He allows it, his face unreadable, looking ahead not at his captors. The dignity of a man who is choosing submission for now. The ropes on Samson's wrists suddenly snapping and falling away like burned thread. The Spirit of God as a golden burst of light around him. Philistine soldiers backing away in alarm. Dust and golden light, supernatural power unleashed. Samson bending to pick up a large dry donkey jawbone from the rocky ground, fingers wrapping around it, the weapon of an unconventional champion. Samson fighting 1,000 Philistine soldiers with a donkey jawbone, soldiers falling in every direction, golden divine light emanating from Samson. A battlefield of impossible scale, the jawbone raised above his head. Samson standing alone on a battlefield covered with fallen Philistine soldiers, raising the donkey jawbone toward the sky, a cry of triumph. Massive ancient city gates of Gaza at night. Enormous wooden doors reinforced with iron bars and bronze studs, set into thick stone walls. Torches flickering on the wall above. Armed Philistine guards stationed at the towers. A city locked against one man. Samson sleeping in a house inside Gaza. A quiet, still moment before midnight. Moonlight through a high window, deep sleep, unaware of the men outside waiting to kill him at dawn. Samson gripping both doors of the massive city gate of Gaza with bare hands, beginning to pull, tendons and muscles straining in his forearms and neck, the enormous iron-banded wooden doors beginning to crack from their stone posts. Samson carrying the entire city gate, 2 enormous wooden doors, iron bars, stone post bases. On his bare shoulders through the night desert, Samson silhouetted at the top of a desert hill at midnight, the city gate balanced on his shoulders. A man at the absolute peak of his power. The valley of Sorek in golden afternoon light, fertile and warm, a beautiful stone house with flowering vines. The contrast of beauty and comfort against the harsh land around it. Delilah's world as different from Samson's. Delilah, strikingly beautiful Philistine woman in her late 20s, dark olive skin, coal-lined eyes, rich crimson and gold robes, gold jewelry, seated in a sunlit courtyard weaving, a woman of comfort and intelligence. 5 powerful Philistine lords in elaborate robes and jewelry standing before Delilah in her home, each holding a leather pouch heavy with silver, expressions of cold calculation and desperation. 5 large leather pouches of silver coins arranged on a stone table, the price of a man. Samson arriving at Delilah's house at dusk, expression open and trusting, unguarded love on his face as he approaches, completely unaware of what has just been arranged inside. Delilah binding the sleeping Samson's wrists with 7 fresh green bowstrings. Philistine soldiers visible hiding in the shadows at the back of the room. Samson snapping 7 fresh bowstrings from his wrists as if they were burnt thread, the strings exploding apart. Intimate and manipulative, expression of wounded love. Samson sitting with his head in his hands, visibly exhausted and worn, Delilah beside him still pressing. Samson, looking at Delilah with complete vulnerability, the walls finally down, a man utterly in love and completely undone by it, the last moment before everything changes. Samson sleeping with his head on Delilah's lap, completely at peace, the most vulnerable position possible. A razor blade held by a man's hand approaching the sleeping Samson's thick dreadlocked hair, the Philistine lords in the deep shadows. A sacred vow about to be broken. Samson's dark hair falls to the stone floor one by one. Samson waking and shaking himself, his face in the split second between expectation and the dawning horror that the power is gone. Samson being seized by Philistine soldiers, hands grabbing him from every direction. For the first time in his life he is subdued, shock and devastation on his face. Samson's face just after his eyes have been taken. Samson in a prison in Gaza, barefoot, shaved head, bronze chains on his wrists, pushing a grinding stone in circles, head bowed. The same Gaza whose gates he carried on his shoulders, now his prison. Samson, alone in a stone prison cell, grinding grain in darkness, chained, as a broken man. Torchlight blazing through every opening, The sounds of 3,000 people celebrating within. The contrast of Philistine triumph above and Samson's prison below. Interior of the ancient temple of Dagon. 3,000 Philistines packed inside. Samson being led into the temple by a young servant boy. Both hands feeling the air. Sightless. Chains removed. The crowd jeering and laughing. His face expressionless. Samson placing both hands on two enormous central stone pillars in the temple of Dagon, the crowd surrounding him, lips moving in silent prayer, eyes closed, expression of complete surrender and complete purpose. The last prayer of a man who has nothing left to lose and everything to give. Samson's hands pressing against the stone pillars, fingers splayed, the stone beginning to crack at the base, the crowd unaware. The moment the world begins to end. Samson with arms fully extended, pushing both pillars outward with every last ounce of supernatural strength, the divine golden light returning to him in a last burst. Muscles, chains, stone. The roof of the temple of Dagon beginning to collapse from the center outward, enormous stone blocks falling into the crowd, pillars toppling, dust and fire. The end of a story and the beginning of a nation's freedom. Dawn light over the ruins of the temple of Dagon, dust settling, broken stones and beams everywhere, a vast field of rubble where a great temple stood the night before, quiet desolation and peace. Samson's brothers finding him in the rubble at dawn, his body still, face at peace. Not a grimace of pain but the expression of a man who finished what he was born to do. Small procession of Israelites carrying Samson's body through the hill country toward the tomb of Manoah, a hero going home. Like and subscribe for more.